King Charles has just pressed pause on the future of the monarchy, and the whole country is waiting to learn whether that pause will become a permanent reset or snap back into a sprint. In the next few minutes, we'll trace the quiet conversation that changed Prince William's entire diary, discover why palace planners are suddenly juggling centuries-old protocol like circus balls, and see how the story might redefine what it means to serve the crown in the 21st century. Last January, Britain was jolted by two words no monarch ever wants to utter in public: "I have cancer." Charles III, only 16 months into his reign, announced his diagnosis on the 17th of January 2024. 8 weeks later, the shock doubled. After routine abdominal surgery, Princess Catherine revealed her own malignant cells on the 14th of March. Suddenly, the royal front line resembled a hospital ward. The king underwent targeted radiotherapy, the princess began 8 cycles of preventative chemotherapy, Queen Camilla raced between engagements and waiting rooms, and William, heir, husband and father, tried to keep 3 children's lives normal while representing 2 convalescing senior royals. For 12 relentless months, the court circular showed one name more than any other: the Prince of Wales. He cut ribbons in Yorkshire, attended climate briefings at the Foreign Office, hosted investitures normally led by his father, then rushed to Adelaide Cottage for evening school projects, and whispered bedtime prayers. By April 2025, he had tallied 184 engagements, 38% more than in 2023, yet insiders noticed the price: shorter answers in debrief meetings, a persistent shadow under his eyes, shoulders that seemed to sag the moment photographers turned away. And then, 7 days after Trooping the Colour 2025, Charles asked William to meet him in a private drawing room at Windsor. No aides, no private secretaries, just father and son. When the doors closed, no one outside knew exactly what was said, until the workload spreadsheet lit up crimson. Why did one whispered audience wipe a third of the heir's diary off the map? Subscribe now, so you don't miss the moment the king's secret note surfaces. The answer begins with a folded sheet of Balmoral stationery. Witnesses later revealed that Charles, whose pen still drags green ink like his mother's, had written a single instruction: duty is a marathon, not a dash. I need you rested, Catherine needs you present, Britain needs you whole. Below the line he listed 3 immediate changes: overseas tours capped at 5 days, no more than 3 domestic appearances per week, evening banquets delegated unless constitutionally indispensable. William Reed looked up and, according to an equerry waiting in the corridor, exhaled like a diver breaking surface after too long underwater. Repercussions rippled through Buckingham within hours. 31 diary entries vanished. Princess Anne absorbed 12 additional ceremonies, the Duke of Edinburgh 9 regional visits, and even 79-year-old Duchess Birgit of Gloucester reopened 3 patronage engagements. She thought she had retired. Courtiers joked they were experiencing spreadsheet whiplash, but beneath the humor lay genuine anxiety. If both the monarch and his successor now worked at half pace, could the system maintain public trust? Would the press devote weeks to "Where's Will's" headlines? Would Republican agitators seize on the lighter load as proof that a hereditary crown no longer earns its keep? The last time the palace faced anything similar was 1951, when King George VI's lung surgery forced Princess Elizabeth onto a truncated Commonwealth tour. Even earlier, on the 5th of February 1811, Parliament enacted the first modern Regency Act after George III's mental collapse, proof that illness at the top can trigger constitutional dominoes. In both cases, the monarchy survived by redistributing work with ruthless efficiency and reminding subjects that the crown, like an old cathedral, stands even when one pillar is under repair. Yet 2025 adds a new wrinkle. Social media dissects every blank on the royal calendar in real time. When William cancelled a June ribbon cutting in Norfolk, TikTok filled with rumors of another family medical emergency. When Catherine missed Royal Ascot days after dazzling at Trooping, hashtags like #PrincessPause trended for 48 hours. The palace, mindful of privacy yet wary of speculation, released nothing more than a line about phased recovery. Modern monarchy, it seems, must balance the public's demand for transparency against the patient's right to convalesce in peace. 3 weeks after the Windsor note, William executed his first slimmed-down day, a single morning meeting with youth volunteers in Cardiff, lunch with Catherine and the children in Windsor, an afternoon strategy call for Earthshot. Then nothing on the public agenda. By evening, newspapers across the political spectrum ran strikingly similar headlines: "Heir takes a breath." The public response was unexpectedly generous. A YouGov Snap poll found 77% of Britons, especially those over 60, supported the lighter pace once reminded that both senior royals had battled cancer. One pensioner interviewed outside a reading bingo hall put it plainly: "They are human. Let them heal, we'll survive without a ribbon cutting." Still, not everyone loved the pause. The Daily Mail asked whether taxpayers deserved value for money if the future king spent more time on school runs than state dinners. The Republican group Republic argued that a monarchy, which can switch itself off for family time, proves ceremonial roles could be performed by deputies without the Windsor surname. In response, an aide leaked a telling statistic. Even at reduced throttle, William's projected 2025 tally would still match or exceed the annual workload of most European heirs. Yet another subplot complicates the picture. If Charles requires a second intensive treatment round this winter, William's respite could evaporate overnight. The King's doctors brief Clarence House monthly, and private secretaries maintain 2 parallel timetables: Plan A, rested heir, and Plan B, activate full capacity, should the monarch step back again. That contingency underscores a fragile truth: the first and second lines of succession have never fought cancer simultaneously in living memory, and no algorithm can predict how either man's health might evolve. Meanwhile, Catherine's own trajectory shapes William's every decision. Doctors warn that chemotherapy after-effects can linger for 12 to 18 months, wave after wave of energy spikes and crashes. On good days she meets early childhood experts, photographs her children's birthdays, and plots next year's Shaping Us milestones. On bad days she rests behind Adelaide Cottage's high U's, letting the hum of distant Heathrow flights lull her back to sleep. William guards those rhythms fiercely. Staff speak of green day windows, sudden spurts when she feels normal, and yellow days, when silence and herbal tea outrank any public duty. But what if a national emergency collides with a yellow day? Subscribe to stay with us for the moment that hypothetical becomes real. Here history offers a sobering backdrop. In December 1936, Edward VIII's abdication scandal forced his reluctant brother to bear the crown within 48 hours, an ordeal so stressful historians argue it shortened George VI's life. Again in February 1952, Elizabeth II learned of her father's death while abroad and stepped into sovereign duties mid-tour. Every Windsor generation thus faces the unspoken rule: the crown calls when it calls, and personal readiness is a luxury. Charles's memo to William marks the first time a reigning king has openly granted the heir permission to put family first, at least temporarily. A final thought for our audience over 60, many of whom carry lived memories of the Queen's stoic reign, and may wonder whether this royal slowdown dilutes the dignity they cherish. Consider this: in 1948, after the birth of Prince Charles, Elizabeth rested from public life for 6 months, without headlines questioning her devotion. In 1981, Prince Philip emptied 2 months of engagements to recover from heart surgery. The crown carried on. Illness and recuperation are not new, only our instant, 24-hour expectations are. In that sense, Charles's gesture returns the monarchy to an older rhythm, one in which family health quietly preceded photo calls. If the next scan brings good news, William's schedule will inch forward. If it doesn't, the palace will rely on its bench, Anne's unbreakable stamina, Edward's patient diplomacy, Sophie's growing star power. Either way, the note in green ink has changed expectations, inside the family and beyond. The message is simple: the crown sustains the nation, but the human heart sustains the crown. And that is why a single pause, scrawled in a king's handwriting, may echo longer than any military parade. Stay tuned, and stay subscribed, so you don't miss how this royal intermission ends, because the next chapter will decide whether pause morphs into a brand new playbook, or snaps back into the high-speed pageantry the world has always known.